This is BBC Newsline. I'm Tara Mills. Tonight's headlines. A heavily pregnant mother of two is murdered in her own home.
A second person is arrested in connection with Sarah Montgomery's death. I'm in Donegal with the latest.
We are both shocked and stunned at the brutality of the attack, and there's a murder inquiry, but effectively it's potentially a double murder inquiry because Sarah was heavily pregnant at the time.
A 50-year-old woman is charged with the murder of a man in Newry. The son of this Mahara woman, who was jailed for assaulting him, speaks about the abuse he suffered as a child.
He dragged me in there and then just threw me to the floor and then just started shoving cat litter, left and best by poo and pee in it, just shoving it into my mouth.
Police launch a criminal investigation into Kneecap's performance at Glastonbury. Sir Van Morrisons' former primary school in East Belfast is set to become a special school campus.
A dream chance for CJ Fulton. We hear from the Belfast basketballer who's heading to Minnesota in the NBA.
And after days of humid conditions, finally something to cool you off. I'll be back with your forecast just before 7.
It's Monday, the 30th of June. Hello and welcome to the programme. This is Sarah Montgomery, described as a warm and wonderful mum. She was killed at her home in Donegal on Saturday. She was the mother of two young girls and was heavily pregnant with her third child. A 28-year-old man was arrested at the weekend on suspicion of her murder. Today, a 42-year-old woman was arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender. Our reporter Michael Fitzpatrick is in Donegal for us this evening. Michael.
Well, Tara, the police remain here at the scene in Donegal this evening as they continue to investigate the murder of Sarah Montgomery. Forensic officers have been carrying out a detailed examination of the home behind me where the 27-year-old lived. And all evening, friends and neighbours have been coming here to the scene at Elmfield Walk to lay flowers and other tributes. And we know that residents in the town have been extremely shocked by what happened here, as my colleague Kelly Bonner now reports.
Murdered in her own home, a place where she should have been safe. Sarah Montgomery was pregnant and a mother of two little girls. The 27-year-old was attacked at her home in Donegal on Saturday afternoon, and despite police and paramedics trying to save her life, she died at her home. Neighbours and friends have been leaving tributes to Sarah Montgomery and her unborn child. One note reads, "R.I.P. Sarah. You were a beautiful, kind and wonderful mummy."
I knew Sarah, her two brothers, her late mother, her grandmother and grandfather. They're very well known in Donegal, and I think we are both shocked and stunned at the brutality of the attack. And there's a murder inquiry, but effectively it's potentially a double murder inquiry because Sarah was heavily pregnant at the time. The First Minister said Sarah's death underlines the epidemic in our society of violence against women and girls.
Like a young mummy, and she's been taken from her children. It's just heartbreaking and unimaginable. I can't imagine what that family are going through. I suppose for our part, in terms of, recognising that we have a societal problem that we must deal with, we have our strategy in terms of violence against women and girls.
Sarah is the 27th woman to be violently killed in Northern Ireland since 2020. Each one of these women was a daughter, an aunt and a friend. Most of them were mothers. At least 20 of the 27 women were attacked or killed in their own homes.
It happens so frequently, like you say, that you wonder if you just end up with a long list of names and maybe faces that some people might recognise and some people might not, that it's just a tragedy as opposed to, a person has chosen to do this.
But for Sarah's family and friends, now is a time to grieve and remember a loving mother, daughter and friend. Kelly Bonner, BBC Newsline in Donegal.
Well, this afternoon the police were granted more time to question a 28-year-old man who was arrested on suspicion of murder. A 42-year-old woman who has also been arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender. And the police say that both suspects were known to Sarah Montgomery and that no one else is being sought in connection with the crime at the moment. Tara.
Michael, thank you. A 50-year-old woman has been charged with murder following the death of a man in Newry. The 40-year-old died on Saturday, having sustained a serious injury. Rory O'Reilly reports.
It was here in Fisher Park in the centre of Newry where the man who was in his 40s was found with a serious head injury at around 1:45 on Saturday afternoon. Emergency services attended the scene and the man received medical treatment before being taken to hospital where he later died from his injuries. Cordons remained in place over the weekend while officers carried out investigations into his death, which they described as suspicious. And yesterday, police officers were then granted a 36-hour extension by a court to detain a 50-year-old woman who was arrested in connection with his death. Today, the PSNI say that woman has been charged with his murder and is due to appear at Newry Magistrates Court tomorrow. Rory O'Reilly, BBC Newsline.
Now, this is Jamie Jennings when he was a schoolboy. He's now 21 and today he sat in a courtroom and watched as his mum was sentenced to 6 months in jail for abusing him when he was a child. She stabbed him in the chest with a knife, threw scissors at him and forced dirty cat litter into his mouth when he didn't do his chores. He went to school in a dirty uniform and his home was overrun with animals and their excrement. It's taken 7 years for the case to go through the courts. Our Northwest reporter Kieran Turish has more.
53-year-old Ruth Ann Jennings from Oakville Place in Mahara pleaded guilty to 3 charges of assaulting her son Jamie Jennings. The court heard that in 2018 he had disclosed historical psychological abuse. His mother was annoyed with him on one occasion and pushed his head into a cat litter tray. A blade was also used to inflict a cut on his chest. Jamie Jennings has been speaking to the State of Us podcast.
At the time we had probably about 5 cats, 6 cats in this small utility room, and then the cat litter wasn't changed. You drive me in there and then just threw me to the floor and then just started shoving the cat litter, left and bits by poo and pee in it, just shoving it into my mouth.
Ruth Ann Jennings' partner at the time, Brian McMaster, who is 41 and from Upper Princess Street in Balamina, pleaded guilty to assaulting Jamie Jennings in a manner likely to cause unnecessary suffering or injury. He too was sentenced to 6 months in prison. Judge Neil Rafferty said that Jamie Jennings had written to him to document the psychological and mental abuse he had suffered over the years. He told the judge he had ceased to call Ruth Ann Jennings his mother, as she had not protected him as a mother should do so. The judge said that despite the abuse he had suffered at the hands of his mother and her ex-partner, Jamie Jennings had shown significant resilience and had gone on to build a life for himself. Kieran Turish, BBC Newsline, Londonderry Crown Court.
Well, as Kieran said there, Jamie Jennings has spoken to us for the latest episode of the State of Us podcast. You can hear it now on BBC Sounds or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, a criminal investigation into a performance by Kneecap at Glastonbury has begun. They're one of 2 groups who were assessed by police following their sets over the weekend. Claire Graham has more.
It was a gig the Prime Minister said shouldn't go ahead.
So here's Dharma.
Liam O'Gohany is charged with supporting Hezbollah, a banned organisation. Mokara, that's his stage name, denies the charge. During the set, Nisha O'Carlin, known as Moglibap, referenced Mokara's ongoing legal battle. He said, "If anybody's available on the 20th of August at Westminster, we are going to support Mokara. We'll start a riot outside the courts." Later in the gig, Moglibap said, "I have to make a disclaimer. When we go to support Mokara at the court case, I don't want anybody to start a riot. No riots, just love and support, and more importantly, support. Support for Palestine, because that's what it's all about." Even in Somerset, police say a criminal investigation is underway, adding there is absolutely no place in society for hate.
I really think it very telling that some people are content to talk about Glastonbury, to talk about kneecap, to talk about what artists are saying, but are far less enthusiastic to confront the reality of a live genocide.
It's not the only set being investigated. Rap duo Bob Vylan said death to the IDF, the Israeli Defence Forces. That was streamed live.
Key outstanding questions remain, including why this performance was broadcast live, given the concerns regarding other acts in the weeks preceding the festival.
The BBC says with hindsight they should have pulled the stream. The broadcaster decided not to show Kneecap live. An edited version of the performance is on iPlayer, which the BBC says falls within the limits of artistic expression in line with editorial guidelines. Claire Graham, BBC Newsline.
A man has appeared in court after slurry was spread on a number of streets in Balamina in the early hours of Saturday morning, ahead of the town's first ever Pride Parade. 19-year-old Isaac Adams from Lisleban Road in Clough-Mills has been charged with a number of offences, including criminal damage. A second man who was arrested yesterday in relation to the incident has been released on bail. Bernie Allen reports.
On Saturday morning, businesses in Balamina woke up to these scenes. Slurry had been spread on the streets of the town ahead of its first ever Pride March. Today, 19-year-old Isaac Adams appeared in court in relation to the incident, charged with criminal damage and possession of a blade. The court heard that just before 3 a.m. on Saturday morning, police were carrying out a routine patrol and that Mr Adams was caught in the headlights of their van wearing a balaclava and holding 2 empty jugs. They said Mr Adams admitted distributing the slurry as an act of protest before the Pride March, that he wasn't the only person involved and that he wore a balaclava to conceal his identity. He also described the incident as a prank and said the manure was hen waste and said he had filled 4 to 5 jars from a farm. The court heard that Mr Adams did fully cooperate with police at the scene and that he did admit the prank was stupid and showed remorse. It was also said that Mr Adams works as a maintenance engineer on a family farm and that he was in possession of a knife because he was still wearing his work trousers. The judge told Isaac Adams that breaching his bail conditions must not be considered a prank. He's due to appear in court again next month. Bernie Allen, BBC Newsline.
Sir Van Morrisons' former primary school in East Belfast is set to become a special school campus. It should help to ease some of the shortage of special school places in the city, as our education correspondent Robbie Meredith reports.
And this is the famous hollow from Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl. And right beside the hollow, behind those trees, is Van Morrison's old primary school, Elm Grove, on Belfast's Breersbridge Road. The 30s building closed last year so that pupils and staff could move to a new school nearby, but it's now going to get a new lease of life. Refurbished and used as a second campus by nearby Greenwood House Special School. It'll mean Greenwood will be able to take many more pupils in future and for longer.
One of the difficulties before were that whenever our children left at the end of P2, that very often children from the local area in East Belfast were having to travel to other parts of the city to be able to find places. But now that provision is going to be there for the children in East Belfast and that they will be able to attend a suitable school in their local area, which is fantastic news.
The Education Authority backs the school's plans, which will help ease a shortage of special school places in Belfast in the years ahead. But the school's also hoping that Sir Van might drop in.
Maybe we'll get a celebrity visit, who knows what's ahead for Greenwood House.
So Elm Grove, Van Morrison's old school, should be ready to open again next year. Robbie Meredith, BBC Newsline.
Now, something we will all have noticed is the dwindling number of bank branches in town centres across Northern Ireland. Today, a new report from the Federation of Small Businesses suggests this is having a big impact on business owners, which it has described as worrying. And it's warned this is holding back economic growth. Our business correspondent, Clodagh Rice, has more.
Peter Burrows has been running this cafe in Colinchie for 6 years. In that time, his bank account has been suspended twice.
They weren't happy to let me use my bank to pay my bills. You know, the food business works pretty much with direct debits and very regular payments because you're getting deliveries sometimes twice a week. So if you can't pay your supplier, they're starting to go, why can't you pay us?
A report out today found small businesses here have reported a decline in services as a result of bank closures, and that newer businesses were more likely to be turned down by a bank, which it suggests is holding back economic growth.
It definitely is. You know, we want to see our small businesses thriving, and at the minute most of them are only just surviving. You know, if a business needs to get a loan, it needs to get it for a reason and it needs to get it quickly. That is the lifeblood. You know, cash flow for any small business is so important. Money in, money out. Being able to manage that in a really good way.
Interacting with banks is an important part of running a business, but many, like Peter, have found it time-consuming and frustrating.
It's utterly infuriating. And I think the truth of it is that the banks are being compliant to the Financial Conduct Authority, and it's a box-ticking exercise for them, and they don't care whether it's little old me or a big business. It's just someone that will do it, and they use this hammer to say who got it done.
The body, which represents the banking industry, says the landscape has changed, with many preferring the convenience of digital channels, but that it will continue to work to ensure businesses get the support they need. Clodagh Rice, BBC Newsline, Colinchie.
Now, Jennifer Tosh may not be a household name, but her signature can be found in households across Greater Belfast because for the past 36 years, she's been registering births and deaths at City Hall, as well as marriages. More than 40,000 in total. But today is her final day. Our community correspondent, Mark Simpson, went to meet her.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. She's been here since 1989. Jennifer Tosh has registered 23,000 babies and officiated at more than 1,000 marriages, including one when the bride had not fully recovered from her hen do.
She was, I suppose you would say, rather the worse for wear. She actually had fallen out of the taxi when she arrived at the City Hall, and we both agreed that if they went away with her, fed her some coffee, she could come back about 4 o'clock and we would marry her, and that's what we did, which was a good outcome, I would say, in the circumstances.
After almost 4 decades of public service, today is Jennifer's last day.
Sure, if we get a big portrait of you up, one of them was.
Oh, you're famous! But not quite famous enough to get a portrait at City Hall. That would never happen. Or would it? Mark Simpson, BBC Newsline.
Best of luck to her. Now, a Belfast basketballer is getting his chance at the very top level. Gavin, tell us more.
Yeah, this is a story that's really worth the hype. CJ Fulton is still coming to terms with what he's called a crazy opportunity as he prepares to play in the NBA Summer League with the Minnesota Timberwolves. The 23-year-old impressed during a recent workout with the franchise, and they've asked him to be part of their roster for the tournament in Las Vegas in a fortnight's time. Thomas Kane has the story.
He might be taking it all in his stride, but CJ Fulton is on the cusp of making history.
Never thought I'd be in this position. It was all, you know, what contracts or leagues can I get to in Europe. Crazy position to be in, but just embracing the opportunity. I was buzzing. I mean, it was just unreal. The Timberwolves had been in contact with the Nuggets, but yeah, I was just over the moon, just really excited. So can't wait to get back out there.
No Irish developed player has been offered the opportunity to prove himself at this level before. Fulton excelled domestically from a young age with St Malachy's College and Belfast Star, before enjoying success as a college player in the US. Now he gets a chance to compete against a sports elite over the next few weeks.
You never know what can happen. Like if I give a good account of myself. You never know. So the Summer League runs from the 10th to the 20th of July, and then the Timberwolves will make a decision from there based on what they see, what they like. G League might be an option, come back to Europe, or you never know. NBA would be unreal, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
How seismic would it be for the sport here to have a player playing at that level?
It would be I think, first time ever. Pat Burke's the only Irish guy that's made it to the NBA before, but he moved to the States when he was 2 or 3 years old, I think.
And he was almost 7 foot as well.
Yeah, that helps as well. So yeah, it'd be pretty big.
Modest and very much keeping his feet on the ground, but it seems the sky's the limit for CJ Fulton. Thomas Keane, BBC Newsline.
Now, Johnny Evans has been appointed the new head of loans and pathways at the Manchester United Academy, at the same time confirming the end of his playing career. In a statement issued through the club, Johnny has thanked fans who have supported him throughout his 20 years in professional football. Capped 107 times for Northern Ireland, he had 2 spells at United, winning every domestic trophy, including 3 Premier League titles and the Champions League. He also won the FA Cup during his time at Leicester City. Evans said today that he's looking forward to his new role, which will continue the legacy of young players thriving at Manchester United. In Gaelic games, Tyrone and Donegal both made it through to the Final Four in this year's All-Ireland Senior Football Championship, but the reigning champions Armagh are out, well beaten by Kerry, who look like the favourites in the race for Sam Maguire. Some sloppiness at the back from Kerry handed Armagh the early initiative.
It was intended for Dylan Casey. It's Grugan who has it. There's a goal for the taking.
But the Kingdom took control of the quarter-final in the second half with a brilliant unanswered 13-point run.
He does what David Clifford does, and it's another 2-pointer.
It left the reigning champions desperately chasing. In the end, it was a comfortable victory for a composed Kerry.
The game is up, and Kerry have dethroned the champions from 2024.
In the semis, they'll take on Tyrone, who battled hard to beat Dublin by 7 points.
It was tit for tat. We probably made a few wrong choices, and I suppose our execution of the shots wasn't as good as it could have been a few times. But the boys kept going, you know, as we knew they would. They kept they're hungry to win the game, and so we're just delayed for them all to get through, and we get another day out.
For one half, Donegal looked like they were having a day to forget.
Oh, mistake by Patton, seized on. A chance here for Bannigan. Goal for Monaghan.
But the Ulster champions dug in and, much like Kerry, turned the match on its head after the break.
Nothing changed in the game plan, nothing changed in the personnel. We had to find a different gear and we had to dig deep, and championships happen like that. These moments always pop up in championship runs, and today was that moment for Donegal, and they met the challenge head on in the second half, which we're absolutely delighted with.
And it's Meath who lie in wait in the Final Four after they ended the hopes of last year's finalists, Galway. In road racing, Michael Dunlop's incredible year continued at the Tandragee 100 at the weekend. In his first appearance there since 2013, he had a double victory, winning both the Open and feature races at the County Armagh circuit. He also posted a new absolute course record on his final lap of the feature race.
It's great, it's great coming to, these wee road races. Like a Michael there, he's on the case the whole time with it, he's riding hard, and, coming here and beating these boys, these boys, it's a tough pace there, obviously, to go into a 52 there is pretty quick, you know what I mean, so, it's good racing.
Happy man. Finally tonight, Pádraig Harrington has won the US Senior Open for the second time in his career, winning by 1 shot in Colorado. And Cliftonville beat Glentoran 4-2 to clinch a record-breaking 3rd successive Women's League Cup. And that is your sport tonight. Tara.
Gavin, thank you very much. Some happy cows in Rich Hill under some cloudy skies today, but Ali, a change is on the way.
Very much indeed, and a very welcome change as well after a very overcast and muggy day today. Plenty of scenes just like this with cloudy and dull skies for most of the day, and while it started off dry, a band of rain has moved in from the west this evening. So if you're heading to Ormeau Park to the gig tonight, unfortunately it's going to be a very wet night. Some of that rain can be quite heavy and thundery at times, but it will feel quite warm with temperatures sitting around 20 to 21 degrees. but definitely a night to bring the poncho. So as a cold front moves eastwards overnight, skies will start to clear in the west, and under the clear skies, temperatures will be a bit fresher, sitting around 6 to 7 degrees. However, that cloud will linger towards the east, so it'll be a bit muggier with lows sitting around 11 to 12 degrees. And it is set to be a much better day tomorrow with lovely blue skies and plenty of sunshine. After any early cloud clears, there will be plenty in the way of sunshine throughout the day. Highs sitting around 16 to 17 degrees, and it should be staying dry for most of the day as well. And it is set to stay quite settled overnight, staying dry for most of the night with clear skies. And under the clear skies, those temperatures again will feel a bit cooler than what we've been used to the last couple of weeks, sitting around 6 to 7 degrees. And for Wednesday, right across Ireland, it is a similar picture. It'll be sunny and dry to start off with. However, some of those showers will start to make their way in throughout the day, and they could be quite lengthy at times as well. But we will see highs sitting around 17 to 18 degrees. Well, for the rest of the week, conditions are looking quite cloudy and breezy. However, temperatures are sitting around average for the time of year, but it's not feeling just quite summery yet. Tara, back to you.
Ali, thank you very much. That's it for now. Our late news is at 10:30. Until then, you can keep up to date with the BBC News NI website and Radio Ulster. Have a good night. Bye-bye.